So we are live now. Uh, Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to episode number 2 of Women Everyday webinar series. Today, we will be discussing about employer branding and how it can help to attract diverse talent and also top tech talents which are available. But then, due to certain reviews or certain comments, many a times it happens that this talent are not willing to join these companies. So, employer branding over there comes into highlight and it's an important term. So, today we will be talking about it. But before starting this, let's try to understand that what do you mean by employer brand basically. So, employer brand is an organization's reputation as a place to work. It is all about how you are perceived internally and externally as an employer. So, what image you have created in your audience's minds about your company's values and work environment is vital to attract top candidates and retain high performers in your companies. Therefore, employer branding becomes important because current hiring market is incredibly competitive. And if an organization fails to build and maintain a positive employer brand, it will result into negative consequences such as lower retention rates and higher recruitment costs. So, into this, while diving deep into this topic, I would love to introduce our today's panel. On that note, our first speaker for today is Ms. Timsi Kohli. Welcome to the platform, Timsi. We are very much privileged to have you on our platform. Timsi is Chief People Officer at Swiss Beauty. She is an HR professional with 2 decades of experience dedicating to humanizing workplaces. She excels in recruitment, employee engagement, HR digitalization, performance management, and policy optimization. Welcome to the platform, Timsi. Yes. I would like to introduce our second speaker for today, Ms. Dipsy Kundal, Head of Diversity, Equality and Inclusion at ThoughtWorks. Dipsy drives initiatives that foster belonging and empowerment with over a decade of experience into consulting and program management. Welcome to the platform, Dipsy. We are great to have you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Yeah. Now I will be introducing our third speaker for today, Miss Gauri Waganar. Welcome to the platform, Gauri.
Thank you so much for having me.
Gauri is Vice President of Corporate Affairs at Gateway Group of Companies and has a varied career that has included producing Indian language databases, teaching art, managing events, and she has been known for her quick learning and innovative program solving. She excels in team settings and values practical input and efficiency. Welcome to the platform, Gauri. We are happy to have you on board. Now we will be starting directly from an open conversation by directing my first question to Ms. Gauri Waganar. Gauri, I would like to understand from you what is employer branding and employer value proposition according to you?
I think it is something that people perceive. You can't create it as such, but it is what your employees kind of take away from you. Yeah. And at Gateway, we do everything to make it possible for people to feel at home. It's a very important thing. We hear this all the time. I speak to people who have left the company and come back. That what is it that brought you back? And they would always say it's about feeling at home. So if you can give that, I think you don't need to do much beyond that. Uh, of course, you have to be people centric. Work has to happen, but you have to be, seen by the people, be amongst them, have a open door system where anybody can approach anybody for support or help. And I think that actually is what we do succeed at.
Yeah, so this is a very good point that has been kept about the open communication because nowadays many companies are, trying to be open about communication. Anyone can reach out to the higher positions, the professionals who are at the higher positions, and if they are facing any problems or issues, they can directly learn or be guided by the people above there. Now into this further, I would like to ask Dipsy also same question that what do you mean about employer branding and employer value proposition according to you?
So Gauri, right? I think I'm pronouncing your name right. Right? You mentioned about that this is not something which can be created, and I, in a lot of ways, resonate with it. But at the same time, organizations have to be quite intentional about, the home they want to be, or the environment that they want to create, or the values that they want to live. And it's not just in your websites, or it's not just in your, into your recruitment drives, or the ways to attract your talent. It is the way in which every single person perceives or understands the organization to be, right. And there are many facets of how does that happen. One being very vocal, and everything that you do within your business, you relate it. So in ThoughtWorks, we have this terminology called our why, meaning why do we exist as an organization, and how is our why sort of exist around our core principles and the values, right? So and then I have been someone who has seen every, at least a lot of functions within the organizations during my within the organization during my tenure. And even when one is leading a business program, uh, one must have the sense to understand how does it connect to the why, right? If you're doing a recruitment initiative, uh, how does it contribute to your purpose, right? And what are the values that you're living in that sense? And that really forms our value proposition, that if you're joining our organization, you're becoming part of that ecosystem. And then of course there is an environment that supports it. But all that I'm trying to say is that anything that you see in terms of branding, and of course there are parts of it which are digital, creating consistency. So for example, from the very beginning, we said we want every experience of a thought worker to be consistent, right? And it has to be so nuanced in a way that if you are moving from say India office to an office in North America, it should not create that sense of superiority or an inferiority, right? It should be a consistent experience. So you go into the office, you're automatically connected to the Wi-Fi. You go into the office, you feel you're still in Pune office, right? So the branding, the environment, the colors, and everything, so it is quite accessible. And that really, I mean, when I say, we should be able to live our why, and that why cannot just be spoken, it has to be lived and experienced. So that is how I really call out the employee branding and the employee value proposition.
Correct, correct.
That's very nice that you have put up what is exactly value propositions by giving examples how you have provided to your own employees, even they are shifting or even they are relocating, because it is the biggest part or biggest thing that you decision that you take into your life. So making them more comfortable, they feel more connected to the company, and then they would continue or would get retained with the organization
Yes.
for the longer period of time. Yeah. So, Timsi, I would like to ask you that according to the employer branding or employer value proposition, what do you think about this?
So, like Trupsi said, it is an intentional effort of creating a culture where everyone feels valued, and it's a perception which not only the external people have for the company, but also how internally people perceive about the organization. And it is all about creating a culture, where we have focus on the values, which becomes the center stage, to create a program and showcase, what we are doing, what do we stand for, what is our why, uh, and creating, development programs for people. So basically, it's the why we exist, and why, we should hire, and how we should hire top talent. So,
Yeah.
and it is also about communicating why. That is also very important point from my side.
Yeah. So like we talk about the initiatives that we will be, that the companies take or the organizations take. Now there are two parameters to this. These employer branding activities are showcased online as well as offline, which makes people outside the organization who are not the part or who doesn't know any employees from the organization to know about what is the work culture at a particular company or at particular workplace. So, what is the difference between online and offline? What do you think this can be carrying? Means what is important, or both the channels are important? So, Dipsy, I would like to direct this question towards you.
So I just want to clarify if your question is centered around how do you create modes for people to interact with you? I just want to ensure that I'm aware what you are asking exactly.
Yes. So I wanted to understand that whenever there are certain platforms like Glassdoor is there, or other
Right.
platforms, or their Ambition Box is there. So many employees go over there, they put down their reviews, and it is
Yeah.
available online for all the people. So me
Yeah.
as an individual, if I apply into
Mm.
certain company,
Mm.
before joining the company, I try to check out the reviews or how the company is exactly. So
Right.
that things, that is something which is an online branding that people are taking up nowadays very much. So
Right.
they ask people who give the interview, they ask them to go to Glassdoor and put their reviews over there.
Yeah.
How was their experience with the interview and something like that. So do you think that this is important, or else even offline there are certain companies who are not much active into kind
Mm.
of creating this Glassdoor profiles or any particular profiles, Naukri profiles, and showcasing.
Mm.
But they are good organizations which value their own employees and have been,
Mm.
focusing on retaining their own talent and hiring good talent also.
Mm.
So, between this part, what do you think? Online should be done, or else offline should be more focused, or both are important?
Yeah. So I would say that it depends upon the stages of the organization that one is in. Secondly, as I mentioned, right, one has to be very clear top down what is the purpose of our business, right? If I say I am one of those organizations who want to ensure that my workplace is a safe workplace for everyone, but let people talk about it, right? So I'm not going to do anything actively about it, right? And then that's fine too. But then, given the environment we are in today, more so post COVID times, I think most of the people out of the convenience or out of, in a sheer necessity, because that way you are able to attract the diverse talent of pool of talent as well. Do depend or do trust all these different mediums. Now, I mean, I wouldn't want to talk about the other organizations, nor I have that awareness and understanding, but it is quite a crucial part of, if you are an organization that has a focus of employer branding and you want to be, visible out there, you must consider what's happening, on all these forums, whether it is Glassdoor, whether it is, Fishbowl, and and then incorporate that feedback, keep a visibility of it, be open and transparent enough to understand and acknowledge, and then drop the ones that you really, don't want to call out, because at the same time, these mediums have also become quite open in a way where if I'm angry at even a smallest of the thing, I would simply go and talk about it. Now that may not be a reality of an organization, that may be a reality of an individual in the context that they have been operating it, right? So one has to be very nuanced into what are they keeping and what they are dropping. But in our perspective, if you are being quite open and advocative about how you're perceived and about the branding of yourselves as an organization, I do believe that these mediums play a very crucial role uh, in sort of supporting one's journey.
That was a great explanation and bifurcation between both the strategies, that how can a particular organization come up with certain things and be open about the feedbacks and take the feedback and then implement it further. So my I would like to direct this question to Gauri also, like online versus offline. What do you think, what is the basic parameter that a company needs to focus, or a company needs to overtake this?
I think both are important. Online, of course, like she pointed out right now, that people do respond in anger most of the time, and they feel that these platforms are outlets for them. So sometimes whatever you do, you cannot undo what somebody else has done. You can, keep putting your own bits there, saying that we do this activity. There is so much engagement with your employees, and there's constant engagement with your employees. But one or two of them will always be, upset about something or the other, and to have that as your voice to the outside world is incorrect, I would say. And I'm not sure how transparent those organizations themselves are in that sense. In today's world, when you can buy likes and, build a reputation or break a reputation, I think the newer generation, the Gen Zs that are coming in, they actually do understand that these are all somewhat of a bubble. Yeah. So I always, when I get a chance to talk to young people, tell them that be real, come into the real world, come visit us, come, ask questions to somebody who can give you a real answer. Follow us, because what we are showing is the reality. We are not building up stories, right? So just follow us and get the real picture. Don't, I mean, it's like a gossip site in a sense. I mean, you're taking something that is at a gossip level very seriously. And I think we have to be real about what the virtual world can do and undo. So I still believe in talking to people face to face. I prefer that. I mean, it makes me more believable. I find the other person more believable. And I see that also in a lot of young people, though they are in the virtual world, they do realize that that is a big, figment of imagination sometimes.
Yeah, true. So, Timsi, the same question I would like to direct to you from your perspective, that online versus offline, what is the impact created and what is the difference between both the mediums?
So absolutely, I also feel that both are very important, and I'm considering offline here as what we do internally in the organization, and online is what we project on the social media. So whatever we do offline, which is internally in the organization, in terms of creating policies, ensuring our people are trained on diversity. There is no, unconscious bias, or the values that we create, the way we communicate, and how we collaborate between HR and marketing to project it online. Whatever we do internally gets projected outside. Creating internal ambassadors, and they become your brand ambassador, and they go and then put up stuff online, which could not necessarily, obviously, when they are your brand ambassadors and when you're practicing good values internally and creating that kind of culture, you only project what you're creating internally. So
Yeah.
yeah, and also creating policies around this, all of this will project it outside, like on Ambition Box or Glassdoor, with the way what you're doing, but ensuring that our people managers and company is trained on the policies which avoid unconscious bias to ensure the negatively doesn't appear in the first place and then doesn't go out online on the meetings.
Yeah, this actually I would like to address this conversation to the job seekers basically, because many a times they need the answers to these questions, that what is the credible source that I can access to understand if the organization which I'm joining is correct or not. So in that case, in between, like after COVID-19, there were many companies who were hiring, especially people for employer branding, who would help them to showcase their, who could help them build the brand on LinkedIn or on social media channels to express the life at the workplace outside to the outside world. So this was something that came up very much, after, I think so, after the part wherein people started working from home, because earlier people used to understand by going to the companies. They used to visit for the interviews. Now many interviews are conducted online, so I don't know how the office is, how the culture is, or how the people over there are. So that is the reason I would like to direct this to the job seekers also, to make them understand that both the parameters are important. You need to judge a company by many parameters, by talking to the people, connect to the people who are there in the organizations, talk to them, how was their experience, and based on that, they can take the decisions. Because this has been a problem to the HRs also, to gain the commitment from the people who are joining their organizations. So this is something which was very nicely explained by all three of you. Now, this takes me to our next discussion, which is about how can companies ensure their employer branding goes beyond performative gestures and reflects a genuine commitment to diversity. So I would like to, start this question with Timsi. If you would like to go first on this question.
Sure. I'm just reading the question again. Beyond performative gestures and reflect a genuine commitment to diversity. Like we said, how we internally create policies, how we create two-way communication. We can seek out to our internal team and ask for their opinions to understand how do they perceive us as an organization when it comes to diversity. This also helps us weeding out the biases. How do we starting with the good values that aligns with our agenda of diversity. Setting clear goals. Why do we want to have diversity? What are the efforts that we want to put in to ensure that we achieve our goals of diversity and inclusion? Do we really want to increase the representation of diversity in the workplace, and why is very important? Then, being very authentic about what we are doing, revisiting our policies to ensure that DNI policies are, they are progressive, they are uh, as per the standards. Then tracking our progress as to whether we are able to achieve our goals, diversity and inclusion goals or not. Seeing what is working, not working is also very important. All of this internally reviewing, assessing and asking our own people about their opinion as to how they feel about the diversity, will help us reflect a genuine commitment to diversity. Also, including our stakeholders and listening to their opinions and experiences and putting them on the social media, is also, and like I said, creating brand ambassadors who can go out and talk about how we consider diversity, how do we, create that culture and nurture that culture where everybody feels valued, equal, inclusive. Yeah.
Thanks a lot for addressing this question, because it was something that is, employer branding. Whenever people do, it is considered as a performance. How much is the performance of your brand, or how you have performed well, and that depends on to various metrics or parameters, maybe at different organizations. But then, is it genuinely you're doing it for just creating the diversity, or you're just creating the hype of your own culture and brand? So now this question I would like to direct to Gauri, that what do you think about the performative gestures, and what can be the genuine commitment to diversity and inclusion?
So, my colleague passed on this nice quote to me. Diversity is having a seat at the table, inclusion is having a voice, and belonging is when that voice is heard. For me, I definitely believe that diversity and inclusivity is extremely important because you get different angles and perspectives for whatever you want to do and achieve. We are an IT company, so it's not just about coding, it's about also the comfort level that one has to have with one another in your work space. You have different ages that work together, you have different genders that work together, and you have different abilities that work together. So, this is society actually in a little cosmos, yeah. And what we create here also goes out into society. That's very, very important. It's not always just the company. Of course, it's very important. Today, companies are doing this because there are policies and rules, and everybody's doing, and in that race, they want to comply or they want to be there and known for it. But a company like ours that has been around for 27 years, it's been founded by people who have grown up together, who are chuddy buddies, if I may say so, have created a family atmosphere here. So, in that space, when new people are coming in, it is, of course, very important that there is diversity and inclusivity for people to feel at home and comfortable. Only then performance is there, I feel. You cannot make people work. That those days are gone. You cannot buy loyalty anymore. So you have to talk about, uh, you know, that you are comfortable where you are. It is an attitude that you share. It is the openness that you share, the communication that you share, that brings the diversity and inclusivity as a given. It should not be something that you discuss, but it should be a given. And you put your policies in a way that people don't need to be, put in their face that now we are doing this because it's in our policy. No, we do it because it's the right thing to do, and that's how it should be.
Yeah, actually, it's the basic thing that, like you said, the loyalty cannot be bought. It is
Yes.
something that you need to inculcate the attitude in the person
Correct.
itself. Yeah.
So
So
we have a large number of people who are working with us for 20 years, for more than 7 years, and very few people who are turning around constantly. But that is the nature of the generation or their own being, right? I've known the company for over 25 years at least. And I came here because I can see, let's say, that stability that it has, the financial stability that the company exudes. That's very important, very, very important. It's not always about the buck that you make and that extra cent that you can get out of a company. It's about the longevity of a company, how it has survived, what has it done to survive that long. There's lots of fly-by-night companies. There's lots of companies that have uh, borrowed money and grown. They have investors who are pushing them to achieve. Companies get sold, they merge with others. We're a company that has been zero debt from inception, which is very, very impressive, especially in Gujarat. Gujaratis build companies with other people's money, and here is a company that's built itself from its own funds, and it's stable. We have 18 months of um, surplus that we keep for eventualities if some disaster happens. We don't need to lay off people. Now, I would look for somebody like that if I were looking for a job.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
where I know that I will be taken care of, where I know that I matter.
Hmm. Yeah, that sense of belongingness needs to come.
Yes.
Stability is one part, but then you matter to the company is something
And
more
at an
important.
age that I am, where most people would say I'm redundant already because I'm close to retirement. But we have some colleagues who are all retired from other organizations and have come here because their knowledge is still very important and what they can pass on to the next generation. So,
Yeah.
during this game that are going on right now, we're in the middle of a nice sports extravaganza where there's chess competitions and carom and table tennis going on. Our defending champion for carom is a 60-year-old gentleman, who's playing against young guns and challenging them that, come on, let's see what you got.
Yeah, that was great to hear, ki you have such tournaments running in, because that actually brings people together with different hobbies or with different cultures or different styles. So it's nice to hear that. So I would like to ask Dipsy also to add to this question further.
Thank you, Pooja, and thank you, Gauri, for such a beautiful description. And I just want to call out, I mean, nothing more than what Gauri and Timsy have already added, right? Because that's all one can do. But at the same time, I also want to share that employer branding, beyond performance, cannot really sustain itself unless one sees inclusivity in action, right? If you really want to be an inclusive organization, employer branding is not enough. You can't just go on and talk about it. One needs to really create that safe space within the organization, and the biggest way in which you can really do that is let your people talk about it, rather than going out and about and say, hey, we are a very diverse organization. It's fine. I mean, and even if you're intentional, you can do whatever it takes within your spirit. Maybe you hire more people from the gender diverse community. Maybe you hire more people from the from the PWD community, or you hire a diverse workforce. And by nature we all are diverse, whether we are local or global. But what really matters is how do you make everyone feel that they belong here, right? And that is where the role of equity plays, becomes very, very crucial, right? That I could be diverse, but being a woman who has had a really long journey to be where I am, do I have a level playing field compared to my male counterpart who perhaps had a lot of privileges by default, right? Or being someone who is from the gender diverse community, who did not even have enough means to make it to the place where they are today. Do they have enough support and that equitable space where they can feel that, yes, all the opportunities that I have today are as they should be, which is not really on the basis of my gender or my sexual orientation. And that is where I really want to share one beautiful example of one of the thought workers who shared. They are Dr. J Harrison, from Australia. And this is the incident that happened. They have a very beautiful blue colored hair, and they were to go into a client meeting the next day. So they were in a discussion with Kristen, who was the back then the MD. And they said that, let me go and dye my color naturally, because I have to get to a client meeting. And Kristen said, don't worry, you be who you are, and we will take care of if client has any concerns about your identity. And that is the kind of environment that one really needs to create, where they say, yes, you're coming back from the maternity leave, no, your performance will not be judged on the basis that just because you were out for 6 months. I mean, I was not resting during my maternity leave, right? And I need a lot more support after coming back. Am I from the transgender community? I need to feel safe that when I get into the office, people really don't stare at me, right? People really don't make the fun of my language, because, hey, something that you just got as part of your family culture, I had to maybe spend 2 years learning the same language, right? And then come at par with you. And creating that level of empathy, starting from the top level executives to the people in practice, right, on the ground, you need to create that environment. And that cannot happen through employer branding. That has to happen within. And then you can let people speak, you can let your numbers speak. So do initiatives that you can really sustain, because employer branding can only take you that much far. So that would be my response to this, Pooja.
I would love
That
to
was,
add some
yeah,
points here.
please. Yes.
Yeah, so Gauri touched on the age diversity, beautiful point. And Dipsy touched on the inclusivity and belongingness, for the people. I work with Swiss Beauty, and it's a cosmetic brand, and it's an advantage to be in the industry. And when we say that how we genuinely commit to diversity, how do we reflect that, is with the way, we engage with a lot of people from other backgrounds like LGBTQ, who does a lot of campaigns for us on the social media. Not only that, internally also, we have a lot of trainers, makeup trainers, and other people working in other fields who are from LGBTQ background. And I would, want to, mention that, like I said, take their experiences, talk to them, interview them, and understand from them how do they feel about the culture. And I'm very proud to say that how beautifully they have been included and in the organization, and they feel, belonged. They're very comfortable working with us. Is another way that, we reflect that we genuinely commit to the diversity. So I wanted to add that. So yeah.
Agreed. So
That was very,
I
yeah,
would
please.
always love to work with different people. Like I said, it's very important to bring the LGBT community in. They're just people at the end of the day. Yeah. Um, I've in my past occupations as well. I've had them come to my door and demand income or whatever, and I've had very direct conversations with them. Not where my male staff would kind of run away and hide in the pantry, and I would stand there chatting with them. I said, "Listen, I can give in to your demand, but I cannot do it from the kitty of the company, and I can't afford to give you that from my kitty." Yeah, but that does not mean that you're any lesser than I am. So just pull your socks up and get into mainstream. That's what you need to do. Don't, because your behavior is actually discriminating yourself. So I've always had very normal conversations with them. And like I said earlier, for a Women's Day event, I said let's call in the third gender and have a discussion as to why they would like what they think is so special about being a woman. And you'll get, even for women, a new perspective as to why we should be proud of who we are, right? And what we are doing is so super. And it was an extremely nice conversation. And I believe that whenever a journalist approaches her, even today, she always asks, "So, how is Gauri?" you know, and that's for me a good thing that somebody remembers me because I asked and had a good conversation with them.
Sure, and I feel a lot of it, the person who was not feeling confident, it also comes from, the society or people around them, because they know they're different. And if others also make them feel that you're different and you're not like us, it builds up in people, and it is
But I think
ultimately.
it's okay to accept that we are different also.
Absolutely, and it's our duty and responsibility to ensure that they feel respected and belonged, and the equality that we spoke about. Uh, so I'm saying that it's not their fault that they're thinking that
Yeah,
way, because
yeah,
it also comes from lot of it comes from their parents, society, friends,
correct,
co-workers. But ensuring that doesn't happen and they feel equitable and belong is our core responsibility. And the way we make them feel is they're able to build that confidence in themselves.
correct.
Yeah, that is truly nicely put, because how the surrounding is, the person behaves in that ways. Because this was earlier, even women were not going out that much for work. At that point of time, this was the scenario for them too. But now they have come a long way from there, I think so. Now there are no, I have two kids, so then also I don't, means there is a guilty conscience inside you that you can feel, I think so. Whenever you are coming out to work, there are people who could make you feel that, oh, you are not taking care of your kids, you are not investing your time into their upbringing, you are just thinking about your own career, something like that. But then overcoming this kind of discussions, or overcoming this kind of, means you should not, I think so, you should not respond to such discussions, because
My
the way
mom is 80.
Yeah.
and she goes to school every day. She's a director in a school, and she goes
Yeah.
to school every day.
Yeah.
So I think that's enough inspiration for me. And she's stuck at the same job for over 50 years, which none of us have managed. But
Yeah.
so, you can look at that, this generation, of what, 50 years in the same place? Yes,
Yeah.
that's also a
Yes.
possibility. You don't have to jump to build your career, you know?
Yeah. Correct.
So
So
just yeah,
yeah,
so just
please.
think of this, a lot of companies and we ourselves are stuck at gender diversity, while female is an acceptable gender, think about, people who, the third gender, for them to, feel belonged to a place, is how difficult it would be for these, for them, and I genuinely, feel it is truly our efforts and responsibility to, and also look at those aspects of diversity and not just get stuck to gender diversity.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's so many areas of diversity that you can think of.
Sure.
Yeah. And I've lived in the Netherlands for many, many years. And they have a political party for animals. I'm sure sooner or later they're going to have a political party for plants. To ensure that plants have their own rights, and somebody to talk about them. What we in India miss, we don't even have a party for the green. Every country almost has a party that talks about the green, maintaining and being sustainable and eco conscious. We don't even have that yet here. So we have a long way to go in that sense as well. I think that if we acknowledge, we're still, even talking about, are you vegetarian or are you non-vegetarian? Are you vegan? Eat what you want, right? Why is it a big deal to have to mention that in your flight? I am Indian, Asian, I don't know. Just let me choose. And every choice that you make makes you who you are, right? It's The world is all about the choices you make, basically. And the choices may be right, may be wrong, but it is your choice and it's your voice and it should count.
Yeah.
And just to complete that, and be not worried about being acceptable to others for making your choice.
Well, if you don't push it into other people's face, right? There are certain things. I think your sexuality is your personal thing. If you are comfortable about it, everybody else around you will be comfortable with it. It's the same with
Absolutely.
religion. It's the same with your other habits. If they are yours, keep them to you. You practice it. You
Yeah.
And if you're doing that without telling other people, no, 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 because I'm vegan, you can't eat all that around me, then the problem starts. Because then you're
Yeah.
forcing others to comply to you.
Absolutely.
And
And that's
that's
why I
where the
said,
friction starts.
sure. And that's why I said not to be worried about being acceptable by others.
Yeah. So be comfortable in your skin, be comfortable as you who you are, and you will project it, and everybody will accept it.
Absolutely.
This was very nicely put. Now, this brings to our next topic of discussion, that if any organization wants to reach out to underrepresented talent pools, so what are some creative ways that you can attract such candidates or reach out to such candidates? So, my question, I would like to direct this question to Dipsy regarding creative ways to reach out to candidates from underrepresented talent pools.
I can share some examples of how we have done that across, and maybe I can take more regional specific examples. I can take examples of India. Uh, we committed to 40% gender diversity, WGD, women or gender diverse people, about 2017, 2018, right? And we said if we want to do that, we've got to be creative about it, right? And one of the ways we defined our strategy was to hire more at the entry level, and then of course you take measures towards retention and growth. So this was a multifaceted strategy to enable that. um, what we did in India, because India also represent one of the largest pool within the ecosystem of ThoughtWorks, for women, we built this program called Vapasi, and now many organizations are doing it, which is for women who have been on a career break for one or the other reasons, maybe with a minimum of gap of about 2 years or so. We invite them to come back to ThoughtWorks and take them through a learning program, like a boot camp program, put them on the projects, take them through a journey of 6 months, the coaching and enablement journey, and then they go through the hiring process again, um, and then absorbed into ThoughtWorks. We have had so far about 20 to 24 editions of Vapasi. It is today at the moment on pause because of, again, the DI function being now centralized. So we are rethinking of how to scale something like this across. But I can proudly say that it worked wonders when it came to retention and it came to bringing more women and then moving them into the leadership program. Similarly, we did something called Interning with Pride, where we invited candidates from the LGBTQ community, and we invited them to intern with us for 6 months or more. And our model of internship is, you're with a learning program, you're also put on the client project, you work, and then you go for the hiring, process again. And then if you're through that process, then you become a thought worker, right? And then some of these programs have really enabled us to attract more diverse talent. Something that we did for the really, early careers, we call it a step program, where we go to tier 2, tier 3 cities within India, and we get, students from who have done their diploma, coming from a very, very economically, diverse background. And we take them through this, 2 years learning journey, where they are not just granted with something which is an equivalent to an engineering degree. For 1 year out of those 2 years, they also undergo, they work at the client projects, and then they turn on to become consultants, right? And we have, I think it's been years since we are doing step, and these are young workforce. This is a young workforce that have, gone on to become even leaders within the organization, right? So these are some of the ways, ThoughtWorks invested into how do we not just attract but also retain the people, because you can do as much as you can to attract, right? You put up policies, you invest into the measures where you can hire. What are you going to do if the environment is not friendly, if it's not inclusive, if it is not equitable for them? And that is where, a lot of these practices come handy. And this is how I would relate back to what I was mentioning earlier, that you let your actions speak, let your numbers speak, let people speak for you, rather than going out and about, right? So yeah, this is just examples of what we have done in the India region, but there are many programs in existence, depending upon the region we are placed in, and what is the environment and what are the conditions in that space. Today we are at 39.38 WGD in tech, women or gender diverse in tech. We are over 40% as an aggregate WGD. So hopefully a good number, but still a long way to reach really equal, where we can say, okay, it's 50-50. Now we can sustain with this. It's always like a, game of tennis.
So it was very nicely put by you about the coaching part that you do for the people, because many a times it is not possible that everyone is already trained, or I know each and every technology that has been, that I need to work at the workplace. So this is something, I think so, that induction period or that particularly internship period is something that makes you grow as a person as well as you learn also. For freshers though, it is very very important to go for such internships, and nowadays many freshers do that also, going through internships and then joining certain companies. But then identifying certain areas which is very much underprivileged, or tier 2 tier 3 cities, so that is, I think so, a great strategy that you mentioned here. So now I would like to ask Gauri about the same thing, that what would be the creative ways that underrepresented talent pools can be given opportunities further.
Um, I think, like I said earlier, everybody is. We use the talent tracking tools, which are actually not taking into don't do not discriminate on diversity. So that actually is the first layer that takes that away for us. And it just from there, this is for, let's say, people who we hire otherwise, but we usually take in freshers. Every year we take in fresh graduates, and we train them in house. We have a program called Gati, and where we give them a very concise training in the various aspects, and also introduce them to our culture, but allow them to also create a culture with us. Yeah. And there it's all about hiring on skill, and we don't look at anything else basically. So I do see a lot of young girls who are out there, very outspoken, very you know uh, uh, active in participating in company things. We have quite a few young people also who do that, and I had the opportunity to also talk to them and talk to them about diversity, how the world works, how behavior affects each other. So you need to also groom them a little bit in the ways of the world, I would say. And we do that. We have a learning and development department that is constantly also helping them on their skills that they need to keep upgrading. We have these kind of talks from different leadership within the company that come and talk to them. And some of them are so sharp that they get onto projects very early in their, even while they're in training. So that's an extra boost. We uh, reward that, you could say, in the way that we have thank you cards and well done cards and great job that we hand out to each other all the time. So it's nice when you can acknowledge each other's support and help. We have a shabash card, we have R&R awards, and everybody, even if you've come in yesterday but you've done something extraordinary in the company, it gets recognized. So these are ways by which the word goes out that, hey, I just joined the company and I'm already on a live project, and we tell them how our clients are responding to their proactiveness, and that goes through the whole company, that is informed in the internal circuit, that this one has been doing well, she's just come into the company, and this encourages everybody to put their best foot forward. So it's not just about diversity, but it's about the skills that somebody brings, the ethics, the work ethic that somebody brings with them, that has to be acknowledged.
Yeah, the continuous feedback and the recognition that we provided uh, induces more confidence in the newly joined people in your
Yes,
organization.
yes.
So,
The word on outside is that a gateway, if somebody's been trained at gateway, that if you hire them, it's like saving 2 3 years of you know training that you would have to put in, because they're already well formed and grounded before they come. So that's our reputation, I would say, and that's good to have.
yeah.
It's
That's
also
great.
sad because that's also one of the reasons that people would want your people. But it's a good brand, I would say, to have. And if people are unhappy, they are always welcome back. Whether they go on maternity leave or they have whatever other purpose that they've gone away, we constantly have people who are also coming back, and at leadership level even. And we are open. We allow people to go out to experiment, or we have also a lot of people who have gone out and started their own businesses. Sometimes it doesn't work out, then they're welcome back. So uh, home, as I said earlier, it's home for many people. I spoke recently to one of our colleagues who has left the company twice and come back. She says, I think I was on a visitor visa, but now I've got a permanent residency here in the company and I'm here to stay. That's nice to hear.
Yeah, true. So, Timsi, I would like to have your thoughts on the same points, that how you can actually empower underrepresented talents from different backgrounds to, and attract them and make them join in the organizations.
Sure. So I would like to talk about the ongoing initiative that we are working on, where we are training 500 girls who come from the unprivileged backgrounds to become the beauty advisor. So we are basically giving them training to become the makeup artist, and with the intent to hire them on roles to become our beauty advisors at the kiosk and EBOs that we have. So we are starting with the number 500, but then it will of course go beyond once the project is completed. Other way of attracting is again, uh, taking interviews and talking about experiences with internal team members and putting them on social media, also calling it out, on the job boards that we are hiring, for diversity, and what is it that we are exactly looking for. We also partner with companies who help us hire and attract people from diverse backgrounds, and I'm especially talking about LGBTQ when I say that, because if I talk about gender diversity at Swiss Beauty, my ratio is 60 is to 40, which is 60% female and 40% male. And when I talk about the leadership, also we are 50-50. It's 50% females and 50% male on board. uh, I think, like I said, being in a cosmetic company, I already have an advantage to hire people from diverse backgrounds. Yeah, so that's about it. And also, while we take a lot of references from internal people who come from diverse backgrounds, we specifically talk to them when we are hiring to get people like them in the company. And putting the it helps us to put the word out, and creating brand ambassadors on social media is another way.
Yeah, nowadays the influencers is something that is very much trending. People do need
Yeah.
influencers to, put out the word, because certainly they have that kind of credibility also, I think so, that people
Yes.
trust them moreover. Yeah.
So you
So
spoke about influencers. So you go to social media page of Swiss Beauty. A lot of our influencers, they come from the third gender, and they're doing extremely extremely well. They help us achieve our numbers and goals, every single day. So we really, really appreciate the community.
yeah, and nowadays people are open also. They don't people are not like, yeah, I would not watch this content. This is not the content that I want to watch.
Well,
If
we
there
get
is,
more views on their content,
yes,
than
yes.
any other content. So
Yeah.
A lot of
Because
curiosity.
yeah, because yeah, please Gauri.
I was just saying that there's a lot of curiosity because
Yes.
it's still, how would I say, people don't really have direct contact, but it's via social media that they learn to know about them and get to know them, and make it acceptable.
yeah.
So it is
That's
very
another
important.
initiative. Yeah, that's another. It's a kind of initiative only to get them out and to acknowledge them, to appreciate them, to showcase them. So,
There used to be a very nice television ad also created by the police, where they used the third gender to teach people about being traffic aware and road safety, and that became very popular, and I think it's also very important to use these kind of messages that we are human at the end of the day, right? And I think it's important, very, very important, especially in India, to learn to acknowledge each other as human beings. I think diversity is just another word, but humanity is so, so important. Um we may embrace diversity, etc., but we still look at diversity as another uh, uh, new thing, right? But
Hmm.
humanity is forever.
Yes, I love what you just said. Humanity is forever, and that's what we all need to acknowledge and not look at, diversity as a different term.
Yeah. So, we are towards the end of this webinar, and we have been talking about so many things over here. And it was a very, very nice discussion that was ongoing. And we can go on and on about many other parts and many, many other, scenarios about the human resource or how the organization's culture matter. But then I would like to have the closing statements now from all of you. So I would like to start from Dipsy. I would like to understand your closing statement for today.
My closing statement would be an advice that Gauri was just mentioning, that be human. I think that's above everything else, and work with empathy. I think that's one of the very undermined quality in the fast-paced environment that we all, sort of work to thrive in, which is not really the case. If you really work with empathy, I think. Life can balance itself out. So yeah, that would be my closing statement.
Yeah, that was very nice, short and sweet one. That is to address every viewers that are watching us today. So Gauri, I want to hear your closing statement for today.
My closing statement is it's one world and it revolves on love. Unfortunately, we practice a lot of violence, and that is acceptable. But if you show each other love on the street, we could be picked up. So we have to normalize love more than anything. And with that, everything else will fall in place. When we become okay to share and show our love to each other, whoever it is, whether it's an animal, it's a tree, it's another human being, love, empathy, and we can do away with hatred, violence, and segregation on whatever parameter that one can think of. As simple as being old, young, vegetarian, non vegetarian, Hindu, non Hindu, uh, name it. I think put all those things, because none of those are choices that you made. They've been put into your face. You were born naked somewhere in some country by chance, and everything you do after that is your choice. So make the right choices and bring joy to the world. That's all I want.
Thanks a lot for your thoughts, Gauri. Now, Timsi, I would like to hand over the mic to you to understand your closing statements for today.
Sure, Deepsi and Gauri have put it very well, being human and being spreading love, joy, being the love. And I would say that being authentic, I'm just adding on to that, of course, that is there, but being authentic, in whatever we do, uh, being empathetic, being very conscious and conscientious in all that we do, being kind, being comfortable in your own skin, and making the other person also feel comfortable. So practicing compassion, and all of this, is would be, the core. We should be living and breathing these elements, in whatever we do, is what I feel.
Thank you, everyone, for your insightful thoughts, as well as today we discussed around many topics. And regarding employer branding, just I would like to state one thing, that diversity and inclusion is something that you can come up with. That is the basic backbone of each and every strategy or each and everything that you're doing. So, like all of you said, that empathy is something that companies need to inculcate, as well as many people also need to understand that companies are doing a lot of strategies and lot of things for employee engagement also, as well as for their benefits also. So this is a two-way thing
I'd
that we
like to
can.
add one last thing.
Yes,
I think
yes.
it's also very important for employees to understand that a company at the end of the day is there to also make money. Yeah. And
Yeah,
that is also something that should not be lost out of sight in that process.
yeah, true. So, on this, after completion of this topic, like we will be sharing the additional resources and materials via email, as well as the recording of this video for the people who couldn't make it for the session today. But I would like to thank you, all the speakers who have taken out time and participated for our today's webinar and shared their valuable insights with us today. And that concludes our webinar for today on employer branding. A big thank you to all our attendees for joining us today. We hope you found this discussion insightful and informative. So, until next time.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.